Good morning, students. Today I am going to start a prayer for my daughter by W.B. Yeats. And before giving you anything or any notes or any explanation on poem, I would like to tell you something about W.B. Yeats, which will provide you a good background for the reading. So, William Butler Yeats was born in Dublin on June 13, 1865. He belongs to a very rich and cultured family. His father, J.B. Yeats, was a painter and of some distinction. His close friend was Henry Irving, the member of Pre-Raphaelite School of Paintings. So Yeats also studied painting for a short time. He was very much influenced by the painting of his father. He was influenced with two prominent literary figures, Edward Darwin and John Todhunter. It was through Darwin's encouragement that some of his earliest poems were published. In his poem was The Wandering of Ossius, that is 1889. This was the starting point of his life. In London, he became a founder member of Rhymers Club, and his plays are Countess Catherine, which was published in 1892. His father's rationalism and aftermath of the Dravidian controversy has prevented him from accepting Orthodox Christianity. So he was not an Orthodox Christian. His marriage, regarding his marriage, there is a background. He has an affair. He has, in fact, he has two affairs. W. Yeats took an active interest in national politics and came in contact with Maud Gonne, a revolutionary leader. He fell in love with her at the age of 23. It was for her sake that he became deeply engaged during 1897 to 1898 in politics and political movements, intending to unite different nationalist elements in Ireland. He remains a contact source of inspiration for him. She remains a contact source of inspiration for him, often under the symbol of Helen of Troy. He proposed to her for marriage, but she refused. He has addressed her as the Helen of Troy in this poem, A Prayer to My Daughter, also. So please mind it. And most of the time when he is saying things about her daughter, that he doesn't want her to be the best of the beauty and heartless, he is addressing to this woman. That is, the name of this woman is Maud Gonne. And Yeats' marriage to George Hyde Lees, his marriage was happy and peaceful. He has two children, a boy and a girl from her. So his poetic works, let's focus on his poetic works. His poem appears in successive volumes, which was named like Crossways, The Rose, The Green Helmet, and other poems. Responsibilities, The Wild Swan at Cole, and The Tower, The Winding Stairs, and other poem. Words for Music, perhaps The Full Moon in March 1935. So these are the works he has published other than this poem. So let's start with this poem, A Prayer to My Daughter. So A Prayer to My Daughter is what exactly, and what is the theme of this A Prayer to My Daughter? Let's focus on that. A Prayer to My Daughter by W.B. Yeats demonstrates the poet's concern and anxiety over the future well-being and prospects of his daughter, and he was very much worried about the future of his daughter. He has written the poem in 1919, shortly after her birth, and World War II. World War II has happened, and she has also taken birth. So he was very worried because, as I have told you in the audio of modernism and features of modernism, that what was the scenario at that time. So it's the trouble things. It is the thing which is troubling him. So the ongoing unsettling feel is visible in the background and poet's mind. The poem appears for the first time in his poetry collection, that is Michael Robartius and the Dancer, in 1921. So A Prayer for My Daughter by W. Yeats explore in the first explores that if you go to the summary of this poem, then it is a 10 stanza poem. A poem for my daughter questions how best to raise his daughter, how best he can raise his daughter. Through by 1919, the war was over in Ireland and it was turned normal. So the war is over, the war was over and it is normal. So he ponders, he thinks how she will survive in this scenario, the difficult times ahead in the political turbulence time. The poem do not only express the helplessness of Yeats as a father, but all fathers who had to walk through his situation. He wants to give his daughter a life of beauty and innocence, safety, security. He further wants her to be well-mannered and full of humility, free from intellectual hatred and being strongly opinionated. Finally, he wants her to get married into an aristocratic family which is rooted in a spiritual and a traditional, which is deeply rooted in a traditional values, that is should be a traditional family. What is the form of this prayer? The poem A Prayer for My Daughter, written in lyrical form, containing 10 line stanza. You can take it as a note also. I have given you the notes also. The stanza from the same as employed by him in the memory of Major Robert Jaggery. And each stanza follows as a regular rhyme scheme of A, B, B, C, D, C. The poem follows a metrical structure that alternates between iambic pentameter and tonic pentameter. The poem is structured as a poet's appeal to God and to his daughter on how he wants her to be like as he grows up. So now we will come to see what is the theme of the poem. A Prayer for My Daughter has the theme of love and anxiety of a father who has been blessed with a daughter. It also represents the poet's hope for his daughter and his expectation of becoming a very beautiful woman, blessed with the attributes of a virtuous soul. The setting of the poem is uncertain, for the poem is conceived in the mind of the poet. The speaker is poet himself, so he is the narrator and he is the hero also, talking to his daughter. The poem is controversial and didactic. Didactic means teaching you with the entertainment also. In tone, with varying emotions of gloom, uncertainty, hope and fear. Analysis. What is the analysis? Let's go with the stanza 1. So, the poem A Prayer for My Daughter opens with the image of a child. I am not reciting the lines, analysis of the poem. I am just giving you the explanations of the lines because this video will be too long. A poem for my daughter opens with the image of a child sleeping in a cradle, means palna, half hidden by its hood. The child sleeps innocently amidst the howling storm outside, but Yeats could not settle down due to the storm inside. He was very worried about the daughter. He is very worried. What will be the future of my daughter? How she will? She was sleeping in the cradle. She was sleeping in the palna, whatever you say, and she was half covered. Like usually children are sleeping, they are half covered. So he is thinking, and the storm was going outside, and the same like storm is going inside him. In his thoughts, the storm howling symbolizes destruction here, which is mentioned in the second coming. You can see this fear or this howling and this storm in the second coming, another poem by W.B. Yeats. And he says that this wind breaks in Atlantic and had no obstacle except the state of Lady Jaggery, and referring to a poet's patroness and a bare hill. Lady Jaggery is a very fond of is a lady very fond of this W.B. Yeats. So he thinks her as a patron, her elder. So she says, like we say na, that Purvaj. So he says that only our Purvaj, only Lady Jaggery will save us from this storm, and she is the only barrier in the way of storm and the bare hills. The direct impact of the wing meaning to the force of outside world, especially on his daughter, worries the poet because of his great gloom. He walked and prayed for his daughter to be protected from the physical storms outside and the political storms being across Ireland. So, as you can see, he is very worried. He is saying that who will gonna save us from this storm? Only Lady Jaggery and this Bear Hill can save us from the storm. And he is very worried about the daughter's future. He is very worried that what will happen to my daughters. So he is worried. In the first stanza you can see he is worried. So in the second stanza he said that I have walked and prayed for this young girl an hour. मैंने इसके लिए 1 घंटे तक प्रेयर किया है और घंटों से मैं प्रेयर कर रहा. And I heard the sea wind scream upon the tower and under the arch of the bridge and scream. He is saying that वो जो ये सी विंड है ना, वो ऐसा लग रहा है चीख रही है ब्रिज के नीचे आ करके और आर्क के ऊपर आ करके. जो पुल होता है उसका आर्क और सी का ब्रिज. In the elms above the flooded stream, imagining in exciting reverie that the future years and had come dancing to a frenzied drum. He is saying कि अब एक पागलपन के साथ वो होगी और अब दूसरा जो आने वाला समय है वो पागलपन के साथ आएगा. जो फ्यूचर है वो बहुत अच्छा नहीं है. इट्स नॉट वेरी गुड अहेड. तो एक पागलपन, एक मर्डरस फीलिंग के साथ, एक क्रेजीनेस के साथ फ्यूचर आ रहा है. आउट ऑफ द मर्डरस इनोसेंस ऑफ द सी. So in the second stanza, a prayer for my daughter, Yeats worries about the future and are further explained. He hears the sea screaming upon the tower, under the bridge, and elves above the flooded stream. The onomatopoeia with scream and the flooded streams symbolizes the poet's overwhelming anxiety for his daughter. Also, it refers to the great flood in the Bible. You know that in Bible, in the chapter Ark of Noah, there was a great flood which has taken away everything, every bad corruption or everything that is sin, and eradicate everything and save only the good one. So he is imagining a flood, and the purpose of the flood is to eradicate all the bad. So due to his haunting fears, he imagines the future coming out of sea and dancing to the frenzied drum. Referring to war and bloodshed, in the last line the poet employs paradox, murderous innocence. Paradox, you know, paradox when we are comparing two things, and with the opposite, when we are saying that happily, like dark morning, these are paradox. So he is using the paradox murderous innocent to contrast the world and his daughters, which also recalls the image of blood dimmed tide, the second coming. The second coming is actually taken from Bible. It is said in the Bible that Jesus will come again and then he will eradicate all the sins on this earth. Like you have that you can relate it with the second coming of Lord Vishnu, that Kalki Avatar will come and he will eradicate all the sins over the earth. So W.B. Yeats has read lots of Vedas and Sanskrit and Indian culture books and mantras and everything. So he has strong belief in the Hindu mythology also, Hindu principles also, and Hindu stories also. So he is saying that there will be a second coming of whichever god you can imagine, but there will be a second coming. So in the stanza 3, you can recite the line, and in this I would like to explain you because of the long videos. A prayer for my daughter, Yeats pray for his daughter to be gifted with beauty. Now he is imagining and he is praying to God to give her daughter, to give his daughter with daughter with beauty. At the same time, he doesn't want her beauty to distract or make her dependent on her beauty for everything. Like he is here referring to her girlfriend, that is Maud Gonne, who was very beautiful, and she was residing for, she is dependent on her beauty for everything. Further, he doesn't want her to become proud or vain, that she spends all day staring at mirror and fails to have natural companionship. He is saying that I don't like her to be very beautiful so that she will stare in front of the mirror every day, every time, and that doesn't value natural things and natural beauty of the life and natural beauty of companionship. The poet implies too much beauty to be dangerous. He is saying that too much beauty is dangerous, and that he wants her to be beautiful, not enough to secure a husband. To be beautiful enough to secure a husband. He is saying that she should be so much beautiful that she can secure a husband, attract a husband only, and nothing more. She should be more compassionate. She should be value more human values. Helen, being chosen, found like flat and dull, and later has much trouble from a fool. While the Green Queen had the rose out of the spray, being fatherless, could have her way. Yet choose a bandy-legged smith for a man. It's certain the fine woman eats, these are the lines, a crazy salad with their meat, whereby the horn of plenty is undone. In this stanza 4 of A Prayer to My Daughter, Yeats substantially or substantiates his views on how excessive beauty has always been a source of trouble and destruction. He turns to Helen and sees in Greek mythology that the most beautiful woman on earth, she was considered the most beautiful woman on earth, brought the doom upon her and many others. She was not satisfied with the husband, she ran away. The image of Helen evokes another figure, Aphrodite, whose rose out of the spray. The union of Aphrodite with Halcyas brand leg Smith brings to mind Maud Gonne McBride episode. He is here referring to Maud Gonne, who was so beautiful but she was not good at heart. It makes the poet wonder if the beautiful woman eats something stupid for salad. They make a stupid decision which brings miseries forever. He's saying that stupid women make bad decisions. The rich horn of plenty is suggestive of a courtesy, aristocracy, and ceremony that is lost by those women who have made stupid decisions. He is saying that I want her to be I want her upbringing to be with moral values, with values, not only with beauty. So in stanza 5, in stanza 5, he is saying that the poet continues that what he wants his daughter to possess more than mere beauty. He wants his daughter to learn to be compassionate and kind. Many times men who believe to love and lovely women who are loved by the men who are loved by the beautiful women face disappointment compared to those found love in modest yes compassionate women. When you love a very beautiful woman, he's saying that when you love a very beautiful woman, she'll not be modest, she'll not be kind to you. But if you love a woman who is less beautiful, but then she'll be more modest and she will earn your heart. She will earn your heart, not get it as a gift. She will be so kind in to woo you, not only wooing you with the beauty. So he is saying that a woman should be more modest than beautiful. Moreover, he says modest and courteous people attracts heart than those with beauty. Referring to his own marriage, ultimately he makes it clear that he wants his daughter to be an agreeable young woman than arrogant beauty. He says that maybe his girlfriend was very beautiful and Maud Gonne was very beautiful, but a wife is not. But the wife has earned his heart. She was modest, she was loving, caring, etc. So he is giving her more marks or more importance, and he is saying that I want my daughter to be a not a young, modest, agreeable woman, not a arrogant beauty. May she also, or and then he is saying that in stanza 6, he is saying that yes, I talk about his hope and expectation for his daughter as she grew up. He wants her to be happy and content. He wants her to become a flourish hidden trees and thoughts like a linnet, referring to its innocent and cheerfulness. Like a linnet, he wants her to be satisfied in herself and infects other with her happiness. Further, he wants her to live like a laurel, rooted in a particular space. The poet reveals his wish on his daughters being rooted in the tradition. So, he wants her to be traditionally married and happy with the husband and the family. My mind, because the mind that I have loved, the sort of beauty that I have approved, prosper but little, he dried up for the late. He knows that to be choked with hate. So, after reciting his line, he's saying, he continues to talk about self-contentment woman in stanza 7. He behaves that kind, self-content, traditionally rooted women are incorruptible. The poet considers hatred to be cause of all evil and prays that her daughter should be left off that evil. Further, he believes that a soul free from hatred will preserve its innocence and hatred. So, the storm outside cannot tear leaves from sturdy trees. Turmoils and war can't break a strong woman. So, he is saying here that there is a small bird linnet who has magnemites of sound, so who has very beautiful sound, but you cannot see that linnet. So, he is comparing this linnet with love, and he is comparing it her daughter to be as a very big and beautiful tree, and he wants her to live like a laurel rooted in a particular place. The poet reveals his wish on his daughter being rooted in the tradition. So, in stanza 7, my mind continues to talk about self-contentment. Woman in stanza 7, a prayer for my daughter. He believes that the kind, self-contained, traditionally rooted women are incorruptible. So, in stanza 8, an intellectual hatred is worse. He is regarding the hatred as worst thing. A prayer for my daughter, the poet implores his daughter to shun passion and wild feeling that he considered as the weakness of beautiful women. He must be temperate, she must be temperate, because people who love deeply could hate deeply too. Hate destroy people and make them to do cruel things, especially intellectual hatreds, which is worst of all kind. The poet reflects upon his emotion state by Maud Gonne rejected him to marry John Macbeth. He wants his daughter to experience neither the disappointment for hatred. So he is saying that sometimes Maud Gonne has her husband who has rejected her and who do not have a very good married life. So when this W.V. Yeats proposed her, she rejected. She thinks that I will experience the same thing with this man. So she rejects his love. So he is saying that he do not want her daughter to give the same treatment to everybody. Out of hatred, she would have a very good mind to decide also. Considering that all hatred depends here, the souls recover. In the 9th line, he is saying that there is impact of hatred and benefit of staying away from hatred. When hatred is driven out, the soul could not recover its innocence. If you are hating somebody, you will not able to gain an innocence again. Then the soul would be free to explore and find that it is self-delighting, self-appeasing and self-fighting. According to the poet, the ideal woman makes everyone happy and comfortable despite all storms of misfortune that comes in her way. She is a stronghold for people around her, and her will be one that of the heaven, for she has a clear mind. And may in the last lines the poet expresses his final wish. He prays that his daughter to be married to a good husband who takes her to home with aristocratic values and tradition. There he believes that neither arrogance nor hatred for common folks could be found, but morality and purity. Further, the poet does not want her to live a decadent life. He concludes by saying that his daughter would be rooted in spiritual values like a laurel root. So here the poem ends. So I would like to tell you one more thing, that this poem is a reflection of his background, that is love for Mordaunt, and his wishes for the daughter. It also has a reflection of the problems of war, the problems of time. So you can see, it is just like a mirror. You can see everything in this. Go through the lines, recite the lines, and if you want me to explain in Hindi, I will explain it in Hindi also, stanza wise. Thank you very much.